were veterans passes that, for veterans that took advantage of the free ride on Veterans Day. And we really didn't have a way to track that because of our scheduling software, the limitations on the categories that we have in the software. They were selected as a monthly pass, so we didn't really have a way to differentiate that. So that's something we're gonna pay attention to going forward. And we're gonna talk a little bit about some fair access systems that would do way better than that going forward, that we're looking at. So we'll talk about that at that time. But that's the only follow-up comments that I have on the meeting minutes from the November 13th meeting.
Anybody else have any comments on the minutes? Can we get a motion to approve the minutes?
So moved.
In a second?
Second. Roll call. Melissa?
Yes.
Joe? Yes. Angie? Yes. All in favor, none opposed.
And now we'll move on to the review of the route modifications.
Sure. So since our last meeting in November, we actually took some time to test drive each of these routes individually using the large Gillick bus to make sure that, we were looking for, are the turning radiuses sufficient for what we're wanting to do with the adjustments that we're making? And was there anything else that we captured when we were on our test drive? And really there was really three changes or three routes that we made changes to, and they're really not huge, but I wanted to point out what those changes are to each of those routes. The first route that I'm going to talk about a little bit was the Jenny Lind route. We looked at using 21st Street for that segment because of some incidents that we had, particularly on the turns from Lexington onto Dotson and Dotson onto Jenny Lind. But we learned that most of those incidents that we had, which was kind of striking the curb, things of that nature, occurred in the very onset and very implementation of the large buses. And then we didn't see a lot of repeat accidents later on. So we feel like, and then we did actually try to test out this 21st Street. And right off the bat, we found there was an issue with turning from East Street onto 21st. The corner was way too tight. And then something we didn't know when we did kind of our initial test was that there were quite a few parked cars out there that made it difficult to navigate. Not so much even on just 21st Street, but further down on East Street and on U Street where we turned off of 21st Street to try to re-access Jenny Lind. And so, with those issues and turning radiuses, we felt like maybe what we need to do is go back to our original segment of Lexington and Dodson to get to Jenny Lind. And we're just going to increase our training to make sure that we don't have incidents, and we're really going to watch that closely in our training efforts. So the plus side of that is we already have shelters and some benches along that stretch, and so we won't be relocating those. And where now the Towson route covers that segment coming inbound, that will be switched to the Jenny Lind route because we're keeping Jenny Lind, Towson. So that's the big change that we made on the Jenny Lind route. Let's see. Something else that I wanted to point out was, we're not looking to make a stop at Walmart, which that's a little different than now. And what we have determined though is we've identified a transfer that could happen at the senior center, Kavanaugh Senior Center. We can have that Jenny Lind bus, actually have the Towson bus there before and after the Jenny Lind route arrives. And so it'd be a simple way for someone that's on the Towson route to switch to the Jenny Lind route, or Jenny Lind route to switch to the Towson route if they wanted to access the super center, just a few moments later on the Towson route. So we did work incorporate that transfer, on the Jenny Lynn route. And that's predominantly what I'm gonna talk about on the Towson route, was that, we did take out a small loop segment, that was gonna be at, Jenny Lynn and Ingersoll, and, in order to add in another stop at, South 28th Street in Cavanaugh. And, so the idea, the plan there is to, on the outbound leg of the, Towson route, to go ahead and make a stop at 28th and Cavanaugh, and for anybody that wants to transfer to the Jenny Lynn bus. And on the inbound, we go ahead and make another stop on 28th and Cavanaugh, so that anybody on the Jenny Lynn bus can transfer to the Towson bus. So it creates some connectivity there. And those timeframes are pretty tight in that area, so nobody would have to be waiting too long, to board one of the other routes, if they so desire. A couple things to note, the Towson route covers predominantly the Walmart on Zero, but also the neighborhood market. And then the Jenny Lynn route covers a lot of grocery stores. So, if your thought is to take in, some of the grocery stores, go on the Jenny Lynn route, or Walmart, you can go on the Towson route, or make a transfer between. So we're excited about that connection. One other minor adjustment we made to the Towson route was coming off of Ball Road. We had originally anticipated turning on Harper Drive, but with the timing of all that with the large buses, we need to back that up to Ayers Drive. So it's still really close in that industry area, and I think it's going to have really good ridership once we can move in that direction. But that is pretty much it on the Towson route for adjustments that we made there since our last presentation in November 13th. Also, the Midland route, one tiny adjustment there. We had originally slated to turn on around North 12th Street, but that turn is too sharp. It's more than 90 degrees. So we're turning on North L Street just in advance of that, to make the connection to North O using a small section of North 12th Street. So that is it. I mean, that's barely a 2-block adjustment there. And then, what we did notice is, with the idea that we came across with the senior center connection there, there's a lot of places where a brief walk from one fixed route to another could get you a lot of different access. And so, it would encourage, walking and riding at the same time, or biking, either one. One of the things that I was like, boy, this would be good if we had a transfer here. There was about 3 transfer opportunities on each route that we identified that would make a good connection with another route. And so, one of the things that we're talking about, rather than issuing out a transfer pass for each of those areas, with the new fare access system that we're looking into and exploring, we could possibly issue out a time-based transfer that says, hey, this transfer is good for 20 or 30 minutes, whatever we pre-select, and that would enable, it would be simpler for the driver to disperse, and it would actually be simpler for the passenger, I think, to say, I've got 30 minutes to get to this other route, and my fare will still be good for that route access. So I think it's going to be an added benefit to the system if we can do that. Looking forward to hopefully getting these routes approved. What's lacking in that process is we still need to get 2 staff members that we'll be putting in we've already put into the new needs request for the budget, and those will be going to the board at a date to be determined. But we do need 2 additional drivers to be able to make this happen for the route changes. So what my hope is today is that we're still fine tuning this. We're still taking comments, and, you know, working out any concerns that people have. And, hopefully we'll have this finalized at the point in time where we are able to, obtain those two staff members. And then we look at going forward with the routes. So that's, hopefully that'll happen in the near future, but, that will be, at the board's discretion is when the, new needs are approved. So that's what we're working on now. Nancy, did you have the listing of comments that we?
They're stable,
Okay,
yeah, they're each place.
okay, good.
Also, Ken, will you need to, start a public hearing contingent upon the staff? So that if you're able to get the staff by the next meeting, then you wouldn't have to wait an additional month?
That would probably be appropriate that we go ahead and open up a 30-day public hearing. That gives us a formal hearing that, even though we've done this and we've done some postings, that would be the formal stake that we did and for the purposes of FTA. So, thank you for bringing that up. It would be good to open up a formal 30-day public hearing. And I'm sure it'll be at least 30 days before we get that, process that I just spoke of. But, so Nancy, would you mind going over these, different comments and, just the tone of what?
We received one comment from, Kenneth Moore asking for future route adjustments to accommodate the new apartment units off of Midland Avenue, at 4300 Berkeley. The apartment complex is to be named Electric Park, owned by Compass Realty. And he claims there are numerous tenants that live at the complex that have difficulty walking to the nearest bus stop.
That's a big priority that we really definitely need to incorporate in this.
And that is included in the.
That's
the
included?
route adjustments.
And then the next one is, a Mr. Daniel Hayden said that they would like to see the DMV added to the Rogers Supercenter route. It seems to be close to the rest of Rogers Supercenter route as it stops at the Department of Health as well. It would also allow individuals to visit the VA clinic and the health department as well as Mercy without having to travel the 47 minutes back downtown and on the Rogers Express back up to Mercy. By removing the Cooper Clinic arrival time at 38 after, it may work. This would allow for an east side transfer to occur within a few minutes, in turn making the Grand Avenue route more accessible without having to travel through the downtown transfer station. They also think that Rogers Supercenter should stop at the food court at 26 after, but instead should stop at the food court at 26 after, but instead visit Kincaid, allowing UAFS to have another stop.
That'll, the DMV and the health department will be on the new Phoenix route, won't they?
Correct.
Yes,
Okay, so that'll get the access that he's looking for on that,
yes,
because there's not gonna be a super center route,
Correct.
right.
but that'll still fit
It'll
the
be covered
problem.
through the Phoenix route,
Okay.
yes.
And I'll need to search my email because I'm pretty sure we got one that indicated they did not want to see super center route, taken away at all. So I know I've gotten that comment at least once. But I feel like we've made accommodations for most of what the super center covered with the new Phoenix route. And the Phoenix route addresses exactly what, this last comment, was for.
Very much.
It covers those areas specifically, and it ties to the downtown area, so, I'm not sure if, where that particular person's point of origin is, but I do think that's gonna be a handy route, or a lot more accessible than the super
Do
center.
we know what the stops are that were the main concerns on the people who were
No,
worried about
I was
losing the super
hoping
center route?
for some specific information, but I don't remember getting, specific information. It was more of the whole route and like
Okay.
what it was,
Dallas.
Greg, did you have something on that?
I think it was more so like the Dallas area.
Oh, okay.
And that'll be served by the
So we did, no, we did have to strike but we did that prior to the last meeting. We took out the Dallas section because it was just too long. It just took up too much time to be able to cover that Dallas section. And what we noted is most of our ridership into that area is served by the demand response. We get a lot of demand response requests in the Dallas, on the Dallas Street area. And another issue we've had, and continue to have, is when we turn off of, with the large bus, when we turn off of Dallas onto 74th Street, the way the intersection, is queued up, the queuing lanes for the intersection makes it almost impossible to make that left-hand turn on 74th Street with the large bus. So it's difficult in a car, really difficult in a large bus. So, and it's the queuing lane where they're turning into Mercy. So it makes it very difficult, in that area. So, again, more slated for smaller buses and maneuverability of the smaller buses. So that's kind of an area that is gonna be served predominantly with the smaller equipment. Another area that, I'm kind of concerned about, but I just can't seem to, timing wise, I can't seem to make it work, is the Waldron stretch. It looks to me like we'll be omitting the Waldron stretch, and I haven't been able to, pull from one of the routes, the neighboring routes.
And we have riders that ride to that.
So-
There's some people that ride to work over in that Golden Corral stretch.
Right, and so we may, again, we may be looking at exploring what we can do with the demand buses, and keeping in mind our request includes an additional demand bus and driver. So, that may be an area that we have to facilitate with the demand bus.
And we have a stop right there at the corner of Waldron and Robert.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be close enough to those, probably.
So that's all I had, for modifications. If we could possibly, seek, the commission's approval for the adjustments as noted, and a 30-day public hearing. And then we'll bring all this finalized back to the commission, once we hear that we can obtain some additional staff.
We didn't really clarify it super well at the last discussion about these routes. With the big expansion of the downtown shuttle, is it still gonna be free? With it running all the hours and running the bigger route? Or is that gonna go to regular fare like a regular route?
So, a thought that I had, being that people are accustomed now to using that as a free shuttle, but it no longer is gonna be slated solely.
It's not just downtown anymore.
Is perhaps for a period of time, we could, offer it as a free service to expire on a certain date, and then, that would give, folks a chance to adjust. And so that's something we'll need to look at more closely when we finalize everything. But, and I'm hoping that, we've got so many incentives. I'm hoping to know more about, this next, I wanted to kind of talk about that with this, but our fare, access system that we're looking at, it has the ability to do fare capping, where if you ride so many times, it gives you the next number of rides free for the remaining period that you establish. So, we have looked at, and I think it was included as a link in your packet, a fare access system. We've looked at a number of them, but we've demonstrated, or had him on one particular one, is named Umo, and we were able to kind of see what all they provide, the benefits that they provide. It is amazing what you can do with, electronic fare, with passes, monthly passes, weekly passes. Again, like we talked about fare capping, so many different benefits are available with that There's also route orientation, so that, you know, if a person wants to plan a route out, it provides that, that access and information as well.
How do you spell that?
It's UMO, is that correct?
Yes.
Correct.
UMO. But, and, these, they use a reloadable card, much like the little cards in the card racks that you see at Walgreens or, at, Dollar General, that you see that's available for all the different restaurants. You could have a card there that says, you know, FST, Portsmouth Transit, and that's a reloadable card, and then all of your fare activity can be managed on that card. And if they happen to lose it, they can contact the department, and we can terminate the card and reissue a new one, with the value, it has the value on it. It gives them updated information when they use it about how much is remaining on their card, how much was expensed, all the different information. Greg, am I missing anything in this?
It does a whole lot, so it's a one-stop solution, for a lot of our stuff, so, you wouldn't even have to worry about if you are a reduced fare card holder or a monthly pass holder or whatever it is. We can set parameters for every card, individual accounts to take care of, whatever that person's need is. So if they're a reduced fare recipient, every time they tap that card, it will only take 50 cents off that card and not the $1.25. If you do demand service and it's $2.50, it'll take the $2.50 off, instead of, whatever the other fare would be for our other services. And for the fare captain to speak on that, you know, when we explore these different options that we have in the future with this, particular service, we can look at different options. You know, if we are doing fare capping for a day, or we're doing this fare capping for a week, or we're doing fare capping for a month. And that would be like for example, our $35 pass, if you so happen to spend $35 in the first 2 weeks, the rest of the rides for the rest of the month can be free, because you already reached that threshold for the $35. If we set a day limit or whatever, those things will work. And it also works for our nonprofit organizations or, so those same cards and not just cards, you can use your phone. It has an app, and so you can use your phone to tap and pay on the bus. But you can also use your debit card or your credit card in your pocket. And so this is a very friendly system for the people who bank and the people who are unbanked. And so we know that we have a lot of Dollar General stores on every corner, just as much as churches or anything else. You can easily reload your cards, and we can also set up more stations with this type of system to where they can possibly, partner with the library or whoever else, that they can go and refill their cards and stuff. So it has so many different options and availability for us to have a seamless system that could work for everybody.
The nonprofits that are part of our transit assistant program
Yes,
that
it-
currently get the tickets, would this make it so that, you know, they were still able to distribute as they saw fit to administrate that program?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Schools, nonprofits, those different agencies will be able to utilize a part of our system to help distribute those that stuff out.
And for logistic reasons, we ask the question, you know, sometimes we have a large bus go down, can we, you know, if we bring in a small bus, can we turn that over to a fixed route? And yes, the answer is yes. It can recognize that as a fixed route or demand response. So there's some integration or shareability if we so desire. And it's customizable, so we can set it up however we choose, basically.
And to add one more thing to it, just, right now we currently use Route Shop as our app for ride planning, trip planning. If we decide to go with UMO or whatever, it gives us the availability to have it all in one solution. So you'll be able to check your fare, you'll be able to load your account, check your account, but you can also do trip planning in the same app. And so that's the beautiful thing about it. It's one-stop shop, all-in-one solution. That way you don't have to have so many different accounts. With our demand service, we have an app called Amble, and we can attach that Amble app to that particular program to where it's just a one push of a button to where it can take them to the Amber app from that same app that they're using for the fair to get them to there to set their trip plan, do their trip planning for the demand side of our service. That's gonna be different, that's gonna be separate, but it'll still be integrated with the same app, so that's
I think the app sounds great, it'll save a ton of labor by reducing the amount of cash that we're processing every day and, armored truck charges. But I think that we definitely still need to make cash fares available because of the amount of folks that we have that are unbanked and folks that, I mean, clearly they have a transportation issue, so getting to a place to buy a card may be an extra hardship, an extra barrier to, just being able to hop on the bus. But I think that this may be convenient enough to reduce the cash to where cash is, the least of our transactions. But I think it's important that we still handle the taking fares and change way.
I think something that, just in the conversation with them and talking to some other agencies and some materials that you can be privy to, show as we get more and more into it. Some agencies have seen a 75% reduction of cash overall. Some 60%. Some has gone completely no cash, no coins at all. And so it just depends on kind of what works in your area. The deal is, though, and being unbanked is very, it's something that we really have to think about. But that same system, making it available, doing the training, these people are still going to stores and still buying stuff. So that's the beautiful thing about this particular system is that whatever store you can go into, and mostly it's like Dollar General, Walmart, Walgreens, whatever, you are able to take that cash that you have in hand and put it on that card that you want to use. So
Even in small increments, like
yes,
$1.25.
whatever you want to put on there, you can do that. So
To get
there's no
home.
set limit. No.
Okay.
So that's the beautiful thing about it, and to kind of keep that, as you spoke about armored cars and the manpower and all that kind of stuff.
And we're not alone in, if we decide to implement this, and we did incorporate funds in the budget to make this happen. Because this particular company establishes a network with all the different transit providers that use this. And so you have some, best lessons learned.
We're not blazing the trail
Right,
here.
right. Because, obviously, and I think they saw it, with our questions yesterday, was like, we heard these questions before, this is not uncommon, we get these. And we know we're gonna experience it, but there's some information that can be shared about how other transit agencies, evolved into this process, and
Just one of the cool thing about it, what they said was, example that he gave us in one of our demos was, think about if you go to Starbucks or you go to McDonald's and you have the rewards program and stuff like that. It's stuff that we can explore, because by them having a card or having an account, there are benefits that we can make available to them by doing that. And so that makes it a little bit more worthwhile.
This will also give us a little more data because we'll be able to see individual ridership better, individuals
Correct.
taking more rides versus more individuals using the system, where now we can only track, by stops. This way we would have more data points
Correct.
to work with.
Yes.
So we have the money to go ahead and do this?
right, and it may not be for the full-blown version, but enough to get started in it, and,
Do you have to
And-
take it to the board before you do that?
we will probably, because of the total purchase price, it probably will need to go to the board.
Okay.
But,
Is somebody somebody from UMO going to present, or are you just gonna
Well, and I brought up Umo because that's one that has demonstrated for us. There's a number of different,
Absolutely.
providers out there. And we need to go through the procurement process to make sure that, we're doing our due diligence and that we're getting the best product for the price. And so that's the kind of process that we're in now. Provided the commission is comfortable with this, and, I don't see any reason why this wouldn't be a good idea. There's just so many efficiencies. Even if we use it partially, it still would be a very beneficial system to us.
And it's tied into our bike program too. We try to.
Yes,
Yeah.
that was the
We-
main thing. We could use it for the TAP program and also for the bike share program,
Yes.
where you can access, it's the same pay, process between the bike and the bus, so.
Oh, those connect together, this makes good
There's
sense.
connectivity.
That's
Yeah.
why.
Yeah,
So do we need a motion to,
yeah, well, I
If
guess
you
we're
wanna
just talking
incorporate it
about
with the
that.
route changes, that would work, yeah. that would
While we're talking about fair things, if we go to the downtown route, no longer being a free shuttle, it is something to consider that our downtown rate has a higher rate than any of the other routes of people that cannot afford a fare at all. We have a lot of, the unhoused that use that route to access the different services that are in that area. There's several places there on that route currently that serve people that cannot afford. And so I'm not saying that needs to be a barrier to go into full fare. It's a full route, doing full hours, we can do it. But maybe that would mean we need to do some extra consideration into what we're doing with the TAP program for the things that were on the route in the past. Maybe the 25 tickets, when it was a free shuttle, got the folks where they needed to go that wasn't on the free shuttle. But if it's a fare, maybe they're gonna need a few more, or, maybe we need to find some sort of way to readjust that.
And we'll have a much more improved system and tool on how to make those.
To see how that works, that makes sense.
That would be, very beneficial.
Oh,
One other thing that what brought me to this idea, another thing that brought me to this idea is when we have free ride days, we see like a 40% increase in ridership. But when we have free ride days, I hear it, I feel it, I sense it from the drivers that this is almost too much, and we've had some passengers that typically use monthly passes that get kind of upset because now we're extending a benefit to others that kind of in a way reduces the benefit of the monthly pass. So I think this fare access system can give us a much more controlled benefit through fare capping and things of that nature, where I really see if we go to this, the incentives that's tied to this can really increase our ridership and do it in a much more controlled fashion, if that makes sense. So that we're not overburdening our staff and that we're not taking away from those that buy the incentive packages. So that's the beauty of this system.
okay, can we get a motion? Let's do it separate motions
Okay.
on the fare and separate motions on the routes. Can we get a motion to approve at this stage and open a public hearing on the route changes?
how about, move forward
Move forward
on the route changes?
and open a public hearing
Yeah.
on the route changes?
Yes.
Oh.
So moved?
We got a second?
Roll call, Melissa?
Yes.
Joe? Yes. Angie? All in favor, none opposed.
And can we get a motion on moving forward with a fair, what do we call it,
Access.
fair access system?
Okay. Yes. So
Can we get a second?
Roll
Okay, so this is a plan that, we put together, for a number of years, and I wanna point out that it's not technically required by the FTA because of the size of our population. It's a plan that's required for populations 200,000 and above. But we feel like, just as, to be good stewards and to, to follow a sort of a pattern, we feel like it's important to do this under a voluntary basis. And the plan is kind of a culmination of an organization chart, schedule of personnel. It outlines the ordinance for human resource policy, the actual policies themselves, utilization of females and minorities, EEO census and FST comparisons, and U.S. Census facts statistics. And, when you look at the whole plan, if you kind of look towards the end of the plan, I believe it's on page 24 of the plan, 30 of the packet, it includes kind of some target areas where we realize, okay, looking at the, our department statistics and demographics, comparing that to the statistics and demographics of Sebastian County, or even more defined into Fort Smith, it shows areas where we might be lacking, and so that we consider that as target areas, and so it gives us that information. And really where that comes into play is when we're doing our hiring practices, and we say, okay, we have 2 applicants that are equally qualified, and this applicant is in that target category. Maybe we might want to give some consideration to that, to be in balance with what is the statistics in our area. So,
And I know in prior years, we also use these targets to help, know where we need to increase our advertising to get applicants, trying to reach some of these populations. I noticed, I think things look really good overall. Most of it looks pretty in line with our city census. The Hispanic employees is lower than our city's population. We got 5.88% employees and 19.4 on the census. Are we doing anything to reach out in the Hispanic community and see what we might be able to do to get some more applicants?
We do attend an event. There's a couple of events that we try to attend. One of them is later on in this year that the school do is like with the Hispanic family, Hispanic community and stuff. So we do take our information out there to them to kind of know that we're available, and also that we also have jobs available and stuff for the parents. So we do try to involve ourselves, and if the HR department, I know Jason works with them, and we try our best to events that they have to let them know too that we're hiring when we are.
for the
Do you have
audience,
outreach to the churches?
We haven't, but we can.
Uh-huh.
We can.
for the audience benefit, that's Greg Carthon, our civil rights officer, that's speaking.
And I think since we've added him in the last couple of years, there have been some improvements on some of those categories, I think. Have there been a couple that
Definitely,
the needle has moved? closer to
Definitely.
census?
If you look at the outreach activities, we've gone,
It's done,
we've
That's
increased
right.
those to almost 60 some outreach activities a year, and so that really helps.
quite a bit.
Share a little bit about what we do and gets the information out. We're all busy and, have our general task, but Greg makes it a specific part of his task to get out and share that information and be with the community and engage. And I think that really helps and will help, particularly in this area as well. So, but that's all the information I have about the voluntary plan that we.
Do we need to do any sort of motion to approve on this?
I
or
think it
is
would
this
be
just a
helpful
knowledge?
as just a recognition.
Can we get a motion to approve
A
the
motion to.
voluntary equal opportunity plan. Got a second? All right.
Roll call.
It was just a long word to get out.
Melissa?
Yes.
Joe?
Yeah.
Angie? All in favor and opposed?
Moving on to the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan.
Yeah, a lot of information in your packet.
It was dense.
So, you know, we just discussed this at the November 13th meeting, and the commission approved it. Our plans were to take it to the board and seek approval, consideration from the board. And then mid-December, we got a checklist from MTA that says, this is what you need to have in your packet. And by the way, there's some new things, new areas, that are there for consideration. So what we did, the checklist is very nice because we were able to look at our entire plan and not only just look at it, but actually mark and document areas, page numbers, where the guidelines are covered or are addressed. So this will be very handy when we have our triennial review in 2.5 years from now. And we can put out this list and say, here's everything you asked us to do, and here's where we've done it. But, you know, in that, what we noticed was there was some new best practices that they put into place, and there was also some new requirements that they put into place. And specifically, there were 6 best practice areas that they added in, and most of those were housekeeping items, like, how you present your plan, your geographic area, your operating characteristics, you know, your website, do you use it on your website, do you not, that kind of information. And then the new requirements, they go into a little more detail. And so looking at there are 19 areas involving new requirements, and those areas are areas of significance. They're talking about collisions, injuries, fatalities, assaults on workers, involvement of frontline workers in the agency safety plan, and identification of risk and hazards, as well as new requirements for de-escalation training. So that's kind of a summary of all those 19 different categories that we, new requirements that we have to put into the plan.
I noticed in November, I didn't seem to notice this part about the collisions in that version, and I noticed that we had no collisions, 0 collisions in 2024 according to the report. Was that accurate that we had 0 collisions?
I don't know.
If so, that's terrific. But then,
What he's talking about, what we're talking about is a reportable, so those
Right.
are
oh, okay,
standards you have
so
to meet.
a little bump is not, okay.
Right, it didn't rise to the level
Okay.
of what, and most of this is based on, when you talk about FTA, it's mostly NTD, National Transit Database, reporting, which has its own category and definition of what meets reportable,
Okay.
Statistics.
Like lost time accidents in the factory.
Well, yeah, and, I mean, you think about a fatality, that's definitely
Well,
going to be,
yeah.
you know, a
An
major
injury accident.
injuries, number of major injuries, things of that nature, will probably rise to the level. And now, you know, something that is new is assaults on transit workers. You know, that's kind of worth mentioning that, you know, FTA is now looking to make sure that our employees are protected, you know, so, any elements of misbehavior needs to be, you know, calmed down before they get onto the bus system, because for years that's been, the case on an airplane, and now it's starting to work its way into the transit system, so, you know, it's worth noting that, behavior is important, and that, riding on the transit system is a privilege. And so anyways, FDA is starting to track that now, and so that's part of what, these new requirements are involving. But, so what we've done is, again, we've completed that checklist, we've incorporated the items that is required, and, so, you know,
Yes.
Angie?
Yes.
All in favor, none opposed.
And that brings us to the transit assistant program application from Lotus Recovery House. Do we have somebody here from Lotus today?
We have Laura Van Hook, who's here to speak as the contact for Lotus Recovery House. Laura?
Would you like to say a little something about your organization first?
Good morning. Lotus Recovery
If you
House,
could talk into that mic so it picks up on the audio, it would be great.
Lotus Recovery House is a women's facility. After you go to detox or rehab, you come to us for your next step. There's so many times that you go from rehab to home and you're right back in rehab in a few weeks. We give the ladies, the confidence that they need, life skills, education, things that will allow them to be successful into that next step, so that when they do go home, they can say, no, that's not what I want in my life anymore, I've worked the steps, I know I don't want that anymore, this is my new life. So we teach them how to be ladies.
How many people do you typically have in your facility at once?
Currently, we have 9, and when we open the big house, we'll have another 12.
When do you plan on, when is that gonna happen?
March. We're looking at March.
About how long do people stay at
So
your place?
we ask that they stay for a minimum of 6 months, and then that gives them a good base, a good foundation, because not only are they working the steps, they have sponsors, we have peer support, we have counseling, so they are able to be stronger and confident women. We want strong women into our community so they can raise strong families.
How do you get your clients?
Currently, we have clients from Northwest Arkansas, places such as Eagle Crest, Lake Point. We have a couple here in town, mental health facility, and Sebastian County probation courts. So, but majority come from out of town, and we like that because they don't have those haunts that they can refer back to.
Are
when they're
they-
here.
Are they looking to stay here and get employed here and relocate here, or are they going through this transition and moving back?
Out of all the ones that we've done so far, we've only had one that moved back to Hot Springs. The others tend to like it here. There's a lot to do here. And we take them hiking, we take them kayaking. We provide the holistic approach, because if you're not mentally strong, your body is weak. And, so we want a well-rounded female.
Do we have any more questions for her?
How are you funded?
Me. I came from Dallas. I have some roots here in Fort Smith, and I work for private aviation, and that was a whole nother life that I'm glad to be out of. But I wanted to make a legacy here.
Y'all are fairly new.
Yes, we opened our door November 1st.
Okay.
We've been working on this for about 13 years. I've had personal, family, friends, acquaintances that have gone through detox and what have you. Some never made it out. Some are still working to make it out. And I just felt like there was a need for something in between going home and coming out of detox. medical appointments and what have you. So the first 2 weeks is very crucial for them to get to know the area, because like I said, they're coming in from northwest Arkansas or other states, and so they don't know this area. And I've been, transporting them myself, and that doesn't allow a lot of time for me to work on business. So,
And independence is, something I'm sure. you're trying to
absolutely, we want
establish.
adulting 101 to occur here so that they can go out on their own. So,
Do we have anything else for her? Alrighty, thank you very much.
thank you.
What do we want to do?
We didn't ask what would be an optimum number.
Oh, that's a good question.
What's that?
What would be the optimum number, if, how many tickets do you feel like is what you need in a month?
Well, in the first 2 weeks, that's where we need the most.
Okay.
And then after that, they've learned, employee friends, sponsorship, there's the 12-step program, they learn friends in there that's in the area, and so they pick up rides and stuff after that. So it's the first 2 weeks that we need the most help.
I'm thinking a lot of similar facilities, like we recently approved a men's facility that is very, very similar. We did them, I believe, at 25 tickets. Actually, we did them at 50 tickets. Yeah, we did the men's facility that was very similar at 50 tickets. We did, what do y'all think? I was thinking 25, but we did do the men's, it was very similar at 50.
Well, this is starting out at 9. We could just go 25 until.
That's a good idea. We can look at it and possibly reassess in the future, especially when we redo this fair plan, this fair access
The
system.
fair access
We
plan.
may do a revamp. I know we were talking not long ago about doing a revamp in general. With the fair access, maybe the time to do it, but this would get them a pilot.
Until,
Yeah. Do we have a motion for 25 tickets for Lotus?
so,
And do we have a second?
instead of 26 to even it out. 26.
Takes 2 tickets for a ride.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
Motion to approve
Yeah.
26 tickets.
26 tickets.
for Lotus.
Second, okay. Roll call, Melissa,
Yes.
Angie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
all in favor, none opposed.
That is, do we have other business? Do we have other business?
I think that's it. Now, we are still working actively on the, access road. We met with the railroad, on Monday, kinda a whole another thing we're having to look at now, but, so we're still pushing forward on that project. We're also meeting this week with, on the CNG Slowfield, the architect on that. So we're moving on that, getting some action on that. Still pushing forward, so a lot of things going on transit wise, but.
Now we're to the Commissioners Forum. I got a couple things. We've not much today. We discussed at the last meeting, you mentioned us making steps toward getting our routes on Google. Have we made progress with that, or are we waiting till the new route is designed to get those going on the new route?
We definitely gonna have to wait till the new routes is
Okay.
designed, if we go in that direction, but also, it's gonna take some time, it's not a flip of a switch type deal, so, it takes a lot
Yes.
of back end to get all those routes and all those stops. We got 500 stops, so, it's
Oh yeah, I'm sure it's a massive project,
yeah, it's gonna
but
take,
it's one that is anxiously awaited.
yes.
People will use this, people will like this, and it'll fix our biggest problem with route shout, being able to plan when the buses aren't running.
And I actually have a meeting next week with, one of the ladies who helps with that, and so I have a meeting with her about, move, to the next step, so.
Terrific. Last night at the Board of Directors meeting, luckily Joe was there to assist website on the city website for how to get your special cards like your senior card, your reduced fare card.
They are.
I know what to bring and where to bring it, cause it's not super clear on the most intuitive page there. Do the other commissioners have anything? You don't got anything to say? All right, let's move on to the citizens forum. Who do we have that has something? We know Mr. McGuire has something. You wanna step up to the mic for him?
I made a presentation to the board last night. The purpose of it was to enhance the downtown business, but it involved transit, buses and so forth. Ms. Elsman was there at the time and asked me to come and make essentially the same presentation. The background on this is that I have for a long time wanted to go downtown Garrison in the evening, partake of the nighttime activities there, eat, have drinks, live music, I see advertised there. Problem is, I live alone. Once I go down and have a few drinks, I'm not in a condition to drive back home. Pondered that over and over, and then I thought there's a bus that runs downtown. I live 2 blocks off of Rogers. Go and catch the bus, run downtown, have fun, party, do whatever I want to do, and get back on the bus and go home. Except I found that the last bus runs at 6 o'clock. I wouldn't even want to go down there until 7. So, the moral of the story is, if the buses were to run later, especially on the weekends, not 7 days a week, but on weekends, Friday, Saturday, extend the operating hours of the buses, and I'm thinking basically, to start with, just 2 lines, the Rogers and the Grand. Run those down there till 11, maybe midnight, something like that. People such as myself, and I'm sure there's others like me, who would love to go out and party and have fun and so forth, and not have to worry about getting back home again. I know the college students would love it. They would go in groups 4, 5, or 6 at a time, go downtown, party, have fun, get on the bus, go back to the campus again. I perceive that if you were to get this thing rolling, get the word out, wouldn't be long and you might be thinking about adding another bus or something, because it would be popular, I'm sure. I have no doubt about that. Now, the beauty, as I pointed out to the board, was that there's no capital investment here, there's no added infrastructure needed, anything of that nature. You're simply extending the operating hours of your existing buses. You will have an additional labor cost there, but I foresee in 3, perhaps 4 months, once the federal government starts boosting the petroleum production in this country, the cost of diesel is going to go down dramatically. Gasoline, diesel, the whole wax. So in the end, I think you would end up even saving money, even with the extended hours that you're operating. So it's not costing anything, or it won't be in the end. And I can easily see, especially summertime, a continuous flow of people going downtown for Friday night, having dinner. Once you've got the increased foot traffic downtown, the businesses there, they will increase their facilities to accommodate the great, and you'll have an influx of people in there every weekend. Add additional sales tax revenue for the city, everybody comes out of winter.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I definitely, this is something that, I used to live downtown, so I'm on it all the time. The labor cost would be our big worry. Something that I thought we could do on this is we could reach out to, like the Downtown Bar and Restaurant Association and Main Street Fort Smith, and just float it to them about possible sponsorship of these weekend nights to cover the labor cost. Because that's the FTA. Most of our funding comes from federal grants, and the federal grants cover the capital expenses like buses at 80%, and they only cover labor at about 40–50%. So labor is the toughest because it comes out of the city flying on the cold dead hands. But, it's not, I could see that few hours, at least on a trial basis, being something that we could do through sponsorship, and maybe if it was something that proved to be a super hot ticket that people were really using it, you know, we could convince the board that, hey, we need to be able to find a way in the budget to make this happen through the budget rather than through community partner sponsorship. It would give us a start. If they register, you know, I can't speak for them, I don't know them, but, I can see it being something that directly benefits downtown, fits with their mission statements.
One thing I forgot to mention, and that is if you decide to try this plan, you need to broadcast it far and wide
Oh, yeah,
to make sure the word gets out there.
right,
Because people are not continually checking your bus schedules. Anybody that might be interested in using a bus already know the schedules, they already know the routes. So you need to put this out there far and wide. Like I said, especially down at the university, you'd have a constant flow of them going downtown.
and partner organizations would probably help us get the word out too, like, you know, not just the sponsors, but things like the police department, because it is a safer alternative. Mothers Against Drunk Driving, you know, people that, you know,
And every bar and restaurant downtown.
yeah, a safer, yeah, they would all push it as a way to get home. It'd be worth floating it to them, I think, if we could reach out, talk to some possible sponsors.
Appreciate it.
Do you have anything, Lucius? All right, you wanna step up to the mic for us today? That's new, I know.
It might not fit what I have to say, I don't know where the, I'm bringing in something that started off with concern, then it went to an issue, then it escalated to a problem, but not on my behalf. I needed to talk, one of the things he said was, customer service is everything. I worked for American Airlines, they sold us film for Braniff, lost their airline because of customer service. And that's how we could dispatch. And not to know who, when you ask, when you speak to the supervisor, just, I'm getting sent somewhere else. And I just found out and talked to the supervisor who would not talk to me. He said, oh, I know, and handed it to another employee. So I'm very upset because I work also in this